continue our study in the book of Psalms this morning. And I don't know about you, but I like to sing. I love singing here on Sunday morning. It's a blast to just, there are enough voices here that if your voice is not, virtuoso, you don't feel like you want to be a soloist, there are enough voices here that you can join in, and the sound of the congregation singing is so cool. It's just a blessing. And I know it's a blessing to me and to us as we are helping to lead the worship, but it's even more so a blessing to the Lord. But you know what? Singing in general is something that in my lifetime I've seen change. How often do any of you, especially young people, do you get together with some of your friends and just kind of hang out, maybe have a little bit of food and stuff and sing some songs? See, all the young people are going, we don't do that, Pastor. You really are old, aren't you? Well, even within my lifetime, and I'm not that old, one of the things we used to do was get together. A couple guys would have acoustic guitars. We get together and a party, and we start singing songs, the songs of the day. Folk music was real popular in my day, in the kind of folk rock era and stuff. And people listened to the radio because that was pretty much that, or records, long-playing records, which are like giant CDs. And that's the way we would listen to music. And we got together, and it was okay. It didn't matter if your voice wasn't so great. It was just, wow, these are such cool songs, and some of them had we thought had some real meaning to them and so forth. And that wasn't untypical. It wasn't the only thing that we ever did. And within my parents' generation and their parents' generation, when there was less and less infusion of media and noise coming upon us, so that you can, with the latest iCloud or whatever it's called, you can have a bazillion songs at your disposal instead of just a million or so. There's just so much you can get music, any way you want. And so what's happened is people don't sing themselves that much. They, because gosh, we listen to stuff and it sounds so great and it sounds so perfect. I can never be that perfect. Well, I do have to give you a little secret that people who do studio work know that you may or may not know, which is those ones that you're listening to can't do it that perfectly either. But in the digital age, there are things like auto-tune, where you can record a song and you can be way out of tune with it. And you just run it through auto-tune and all of a sudden it sounds right. I'm serious. In fact, there are programs that are used in live performances, not up here, but live performances that... Paul, why are they all laughing? I don't understand that. I didn't say, as you know, as you can tell. But you can go to a performance, and even if the performer on stage can't manage to stay in tune, it'll go through the sound equipment and get adjusted so that it sounds like it's in tune. And so we've gotten this thing of, I can never be that perfect. And so singing is something that, as a culture in America, we're kind of losing somewhat as a group activity. But within my parents' generation and their parents' generation, it wasn't untypical. The musical instrument of the day was the piano. And you'd invite people over to your house for dinner or they'd even sometimes have music and dance in their homes as opposed to going to a dance hall or something. And people would gather around the piano and sing. And there's something about getting together within a group of people and singing together. It's powerful. It's one of the neat things about worshiping together. That's, just the physicality of it and the sensuality, and I mean in a good way, the senses that are affected by that. Boy, it's really good. It's really good. But it is changing a bit. But when we get to Psalm 96, we find the psalmist saying something interesting. Now we're going to look at 5 psalms today, and they're very, very similar psalms. So as we read through them, I'm going to pick out a couple of themes this morning that we're going to take a look at from these psalms. And if you look at Psalm 96, verse 1, it says, "Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless his name. Proclaim the good news of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonders among all peoples. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the peoples are idols. But the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Give to the Lord, O families of the peoples. Give to the Lord glory and strength. Give to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering. Come into his courts. Oh, worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world also is firmly established. It shall not be moved. He shall judge the peoples righteously. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar and all its fullness. Let the field be joyful and all that is in it. Then all the trees of the woods will rejoice before the Lord, for he is coming. He is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with his truth. This psalm is part of Book 4 of the Psalms. And Book 4 of the Psalms, some people believe, was compiled. The Psalms were written at different times, but some believe that the books of the Psalms were compiled during different periods of Israel's history. And some believe that Book 4 was compiled during the time of the Babylonian exile. You remember, Israel spent several hundred years under a kingdom in which they were longing to and then practiced the worship of idols of the heathens of the area. And God sent prophets to them saying, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that, or you will lose what you have. And they said, oh, no, God would never judge us. We're his chosen people. We've got his temple here. God would never let anything harm his temple. And they believed, as did the Jews during the time of the destruction of the temple in AD 70, that if they went into the temple, nothing would happen because God would keep them there. But that's not what happened. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians came, they overran, destroyed the temple, tore it down stone by stone. And they were taken captive to Babylon. And while they were there, some things happened to them. You know, it's in the crucible of suffering that many times our lives grow the most in the Lord. You know, when things are going well, and there's no difficulty in our life, we're not facing any particular situations, man, we can just be we can kind of get lazy in the Lord, can't we? Things are going well. I don't really have anything to pray about. I have no, incredible thing going on in my life. So, okay, Lord, well, just bless this day. And we kind of go on and just get lazy in our spiritual life. Sometimes God lets our path, or directs our path, or directs others' paths upon us to turn up the heat in our lives, so that we would begin to get reprioritized. We would begin to see what's really important and what's not. What really has eternal significance and what doesn't. When we face loss, when we face loss of our comfort, when we lose our security of money or job or possession, when we lose a loved one, the Lord speaks to your heart and says, think about it. Think about what's really important. Is this really important right now compared to eternity? And it helps us reprioritize. And in a national sense, that's what God did to Israel in the Babylonian captivity. And during that time, they grew very strong in some interesting ways. Because you see, they were separated from their temple worship. When you read through the books of Leviticus, which I know are one of your favorite books probably. You read through Numbers. You read through those books that describe the temple worship and you go, wow, there was a lot of stuff to remember. There was a lot of stuff going on in the temple. And it had to be done just right. And when Solomon built the temple, man, it was amazing. People in the lands all around went, whoa, did you hear about that building they got down in Jerusalem? It's awesome. It was incredible and a lot of stuff going on. And when that happens, even when done to the glory of God, sometimes what happens to us as human beings is we begin to get focused on the thing instead of what the thing is intended to be glorifying. And you can get so enraptured by the physical nature of this temple and all of the stuff that's going on, and check out that high priest's garb and his hat and all this stuff. And man, they move with such awesome grace, and the aroma of that special incense that was only to be used for worship to the Lord. And it can get distracting. Krista and I belong to a gospel choir. It is such a blast. And we have some concerts coming up in November and December, and we'll have the information out there. And it's just a blast. It's good old black gospel music. Done well. Not because we're in it, but because there are 70 voices that are just incredible people from all over. And it's a blast. And people are on fire for the Lord in it. I mean, it's worshiping the Lord every time. But we rehearse down at East Liberty Presbyterian Church. Anybody ever been there? That's one phenomenal building. If you've never been there, go check it out. It's amazing. My parents said it used to be referred to as Mellon's Fire Escape because it was financed by the Mellon family. And I said, well, he's, trying to avoid the flames of hell, so he figured he'd take some of his money and build a big church for everybody. I'm serious. Mellon's Fire Escape. But it's amazing. And sometimes when we go in there and we meet in the sanctuary, and there are a lot of different groups and different places of this church that meet, and we're just using the building. We're not affiliated with that church. The Pittsburgh Gospel Choir actually is independent from a church, so to speak. It's under the auspices of the River City Brass Band. But sometimes I sit in there and, I'm one of the basses. There are only 3 or 4 of us, depending upon the day. And this is like a 75-voice choir. And Dr. Jones, the leader, is so gracious with us basses. He's got all these sopranos and altos, and man, he just whips them into line. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. And they go through each of the 4 parts, and they come to the basses, and he goes, okay, basses, just join in. Because, us guys are wimps, and if he, really calls us out and says, that's not right, we'll ah. So, but sometimes as I'm waiting for the altos and sopranos to learn their parts, I'm looking at this sanctuary, and it is phenomenal. And at least, I don't know who the people were who built it. I don't know the Mellon family's faith. But I can only suppose that many of the people that participated in the building of this thing were true believers in the Lord Jesus Christ and were, saying, man, this is for the glory of God. But it can become a distraction to the simple worship of God.